conference. This is one of my favorite days of the year where we get to celebrate leadership and character in leadership. I have a few announcements. If you have your cell phone with you, if you could just take a second and silence it, that would be wonderful. Secondly, you should have all received a piece of paper and a pen when you came in. We will have an activity that you must participate in. This is a participating event. And so if you did not get one of those, would you please raise your hand, and one of my lovely helpers will grab you a pen and paper, or they're right by the back door if you want to grab them. Secondly, attendance, UJ 101 students, make sure that you got scanned when you came in and that you get scanned when you leave. You need to do both in order to have attendance counted for that. Leadership students, by the windows out in the lobby, you will find a bunch of QR codes like this. When you leave tonight, please scan that and enter your name for attendance tonight. And then I would like to give some special thanks tonight for this event. First to UJ Catering for our luncheon this afternoon, to the UJ Physical Plant for setting up the luncheon, and also for all the work of keeping the grounds and the buildings looking fabulous. To Donna Schmitz for all the PR help. For Logan Adams, who is recording and live streaming for us and taking pictures. To Mike McIntyre and Gabby for sound and lighting tonight. And of course to the UJ administration and board of trustees for their continued support of this conference and the leadership programming on campus. And finally, I would like to give special thanks to Dr. Keeley, Dr. Johnson, and Trisha Schlosser for just providing their leadership wisdom at the breakout sessions. For those of you that were able to go, I'm sure that you enjoyed those. If we could give those guys a round of applause. So I'm going to introduce our speaker for tonight. And I have to say that this is a special one for me. Our keynote speaker is a very dear friend of mine, and it's such a blessing to have her on campus and to be able to share her wisdom with you guys. Suzana Dobrić Veiss teaches and serves as a program director in the School of Business at Fresno Pacific University. She is a principal partner at Lili LLC, providing services in the areas of organizational leadership, higher education, and curriculum development. She holds a Ph.D. in organizational leadership from Regent University. Her personal leadership journey began when she became a refugee in 1991 from war-torn Croatia. As one of 15 Croatian students selected to participate in an opportunity to learn in peace programs in the U.S., Dr. Veiss writes and speaks regularly about her leadership and her journey, emphasizing the importance of relationships, staying true to personal values, and the grounding and sustaining influence of deep personal faith. Dr. Veiss and her family reside in Visalia, California, and she regularly travels with her family to Croatia to visit her family there and engage in mission work, bringing hope, healing, and the gospel to many. On a personal note, Dr. Veiss is one of my dearest friends, as I mentioned. She also was the social coordinator for our Ph.D. cohort, which, as an introvert, she immediately stole my heart. Since we first met, I have collaborated with her on a number of projects, including book chapters, program reviews, workshops, presentations, and curriculum development. Academically and professionally, she is an all-star. However, it is the impact beyond those tasks, the way she serves and loves all those she comes into contact with, that makes her one of the most amazing leaders and individuals I have ever had the privilege of knowing, and it's my greatest pleasure to invite her to share tonight. Please help me welcome her.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hunt. Thank you so much for coming this evening. It's such a joy to be in your midst. It was such a joy to be able to meet some of the students today during lunch. Thank you for coming again. I know you have to, but still thank you. And Board of Trustee members, administration, what a joy it is to be here with you tonight. I'm going to share a story with you. When I was 14 years old, everything that I knew as a normal way of life disappeared. It was no longer safe to go outside, to play on the playground, schools, churches, public squares, any place that people gathered became a primary target of attacks. Instead of learning in school, I learned what it means to be huddled together in the basement with my family, scared. And when I was young, I would study about wars, and I thought they would happen somewhere far away, or maybe a long time ago, sort of like in a history book. But I never thought that war would happen in the 21st century, in the middle of Europe, and it would happen in my own country. The whole concept that somebody wanted to kill me just because I was Croatian was so foreign to me and to all the people in Croatia that government had the hardest time actually warning the citizens that it was dangerous to be outside. I remember the very first time that the war actually became real. I remember that evening when the news anchor said, "The images that we're going to show you are going to be graphic." I remember sitting with my mom and my family, and I remember the camera zooming in on a tractor, similar to what my grandpa used to have on the farm. And on the back of the trailer, something was covered, and a man stood on top of the trailer, opened the covered trailer, and there were pieces of bodies. And I was in utter shock. How could this be possible in the 21st century, in the middle of Europe, in my country? Tears, shock. War was happening all around Croatia, but it didn't become real until it came into my own city, when I could no longer play outside, when I could no longer go to the school, when I could no longer go to the grocery store or to the church, when I had to be forced to be hiding. I remember the war. And yet, in the midst of destruction, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of darkness, in the midst of sadness, there was something beautiful that was taking place. People were helpful to each other. People would unlock their doors, so if there was a bomb attack, you could run into the nearest house to save yourself. There were opportunities to encourage each other with stories of what it was like before the war, with stories about what it will happen after the war. Neighbors would gather after a bomb attack, and they would clean the streets with each other. And I thought, why in the world would you clean the street when you know the very next night people would again bomb you and there would be rubble again? Why? It has really been my lifelong desire to understand some of these things. Why did this happen? Why did my people have such a desire to do something different? Why were they having a desire to change, to overcome such incredible odds and achieve their goal of becoming free? In college, I learned about leadership. And I learned that a primary function of leadership, and I'm sure some of you know what this is to enhance the collective efficacy and performance of groups. Efficacy. Efficacy can be defined as people through an interdependent effort utilizing available resources, skills, and knowledge in order to accomplish what they cannot obtain on their own. That sounds pretty amazing, right? If it could work, right? Like people can actually solve problems and improve their lives through concerted effort. That's what leadership is. That's pretty cool. For my very first assignment with Dr. Hunt, I actually found a term, and it was called self-efficacy. And I learned that this term, efficacy, worked on numerous levels. It worked on the national level, where it was called hope and optimism. It worked on the group and organizational level, and that was called collective efficacy. And then it also worked on dyad level, meaning one-on-one with another person, leader and a follower, and it was called self-efficacy. At the national level, that is amazing. It's exactly what my people had. They had hope and optimism that things are going to be better, that they're going to survive, that their country would be free someday. That's what I saw on the streets of my hometown. That's what it was. At that time, if you practice collective efficacy at a national level with hope and optimism, leaders can actually increase that optimism by making inspiring speeches, right? You've seen that when the leaders come and they share something super important. As the president of the country, encouraging the people to just suffer a little bit more and things are going to get better, right? They're confident, they're optimistic, explaining what can be done to overcome obstacles, manage crisis, and they really take a perspective of how we can deal with specific problems. In teams, some of you are on a team here tonight, right? Board members, if you're on a team, or even at an organizational level, such as University of Jamestown, some of you are on sports teams, that works as well. Collective efficacy. Even professors can include making assignments that take into account member skills. Managers can plan and schedule activities to avoid delays and meet project deadlines and solving immediate problems. Leaders can do and give pep talks. I'm sure some of you need those sometimes, right? And at the dyad level, follower and leader together, they can influence self-efficacy. And they can do that by providing clear explanations when assigning tasks, providing necessary instructions, coaching, encouragement when problems occur. I know sometimes we need that, right? Encouragement. Also expressing confidence. You can do it in their ability, right? So I understand now that there's collective efficacy, there's self-efficacy, and then at the national level, there's hope and optimism. One of the most powerful times that I have seen a team or group function was probably in one of the most vulnerable times that I have survived. I shared with you just glimpses of what it was like to be in the war. Sometimes no running water, no electricity, huddled together with my family in the basement. I had to learn to tape the windows so if the bomb detonated, it wouldn't, the glass wouldn't spill everywhere. Filling the buckets and things with sand so it would protect more of the basement. Just bags, that's what they're called, sandbags. If people had a place to go, they left. My hometown, I remember very specifically people leaving. My friends left. If they had a place to go, they just left, right? They became refugees. They went to a different, safer place. The only place that I had an opportunity to go to was my grandma's village. And after what I saw on TV, I was not going to any little place. I was staying in a big city, even whatever took place. And I remember people trying to get on the trains to leave the city. So many people on the trains that they were almost hanging off the train, just trying to get out. So much sadness. I remember the very first time that I heard on the radio that they were looking for students from my school to also flee. I've never been out of the country. I didn't even have a passport. And now I needed to leave my family, my sisters, to go to a different place just to be safe. I remember my mom telling my sister, "You have to go." My sister was studying to be in a medical profession. And so she wanted to stay local and help soldiers and people at the hospital. And my mom said, "You have to go. If something happens to us, who's going to take care of your sisters?" What kind of responsibility placed on a child? I became a refugee for a year, and after a year, I came back to my hometown. It was still surrounded by three sides. There was a ceasefire, but such a sad, sad place. I was sitting with my mom at a kitchen table, and we were listening to the radio, and often we would listen to the radio because that was one of the things that would never go out, right? Even if electricity goes out, you could always listen to the radio. And they only made an announcement one time in my hometown, and they were looking for students who were from financially less stable families, who were in high school and could learn English, who were learning English and would go to America to study in peace. Okay, can you imagine this? Child that lived through the war, just was a refugee in another country, having an opportunity to go to America. I mean, I always dreamed about going to America. I always wanted to study languages. I was, in fact, in a school that I was studying all kinds of languages, 5, 6 languages, because I wanted to travel and be a tourist guide. And now I could apply to go. My mom said, "You will apply and you will go." We listened to mom. So I did. I applied, and guess what? I was chosen to be one of the 15 kids from all of Croatia that had an opportunity to come to America and study in peace. Now, some might call it lucky. Wow, you're so lucky. I don't believe in that. I believe that God purposely chose me to live in the basement, to be a refugee, and someday travel all the way across the ocean to come to America. But this part of the story is not about me. This part of the story is about the man who had the vision to do something about the suffering that was taking place all the way across the ocean. The man's name is Ben Hurlinger. He's a Jewish man who lived in Visalia, California. He remembered all of the stories from World War II from his own grandpa. He was a Jew in Europe, and he wanted to do something to change, something to help, to bring hope, to bring optimism to the people of Croatia and Bosnia, to make a difference in the lives of at least 15 kids. This man had a vision, and with that vision, he inspired people in this small community to fundraise, to find host families, to contact an organization in Croatia who found all of these 15 kids. Can you imagine? Can you imagine collective efficacy at work from a vision from a man? I know that every good keynote speaker is supposed to give some kind of facts and data. So here I come. In fact, I am on California time and you are on North Dakota time, so I will not give you too many facts because I don't want any snoozing in the back. So I'm just going to give you some highlights. How about that? What I will share is that the role of collective efficacy has been examined in educational systems, combat teams, business organizations, neighborhoods, and athletic teams. Studies have shown that students with high levels of self-efficacy participate more in class, they work harder, persist longer, and have fewer adverse emotional reactions when encountering difficulties than students with lower self-efficacy. I bet majority of the students that I had lunch with today are pretty high in self-efficacy. Those who consider themselves more efficient are more successful and more satisfied with their life. Through my studies, I learned that efficacy influences what people choose to do, how much effort they put forth, and their perseverance when hindered by obstacles. They have also studied and found that efficacy actually influences thought patterns, whether individuals think optimistically or pessimistically, strategically or radically, and also stress reactions. When there's little hope that they will be successful, people will not be highly motivated to accomplish a difficult objective. Efficacy is an important motivational construct that influences choices, goals, effort, coping, persistence, and performance. Efficacy is not about an individual and then adding their own efficacy. It's about synergy. It's when one and one does not equal two, it's more than. The higher the perceived collective efficacy is, the higher the group's motivation, the greater their persistence in the face of adversity, and the greater their performance will be. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good. I feel like it could solve quite a few problems if we could actually function on that level. Self-efficacy, if I felt like that, well, maybe I am a little bit, because I am standing in front of you, even though I have my accent, right? Standing in front of you talking. I just gave you an example of what it looks like at a collective level with Ben leading this group to make a difference in the lives of others. I told you about the national level and the hope that people in my country had. So it must work, right? So how do we increase it? Do you guys want to know how? Can I tell you how? Here it comes. You ready? 5 ways. I know, 5 ways. Here we go. First one, mastery experience. Mastery experience. What do you think that is about? Well, I will tell you. Thank you for asking. Mastery experience. It is exactly what it sounds like. This is why I love leadership language and business language, because it makes sense. Mastery experience, it basically means that you believe that you can succeed because you've succeeded before. That makes sense. I've met some students today who are from UJ, and I hear they're pretty good, right? So it's, if you did well in the last game, it's pretty possible that you will win the next game and maybe even the championship, right? It's really finding and appreciating success stories. Can you recall a time that you, maybe through your past work, hard work, and maybe your strength, that you had some kind of experience, kind of like your best experience of leading others? Maybe do you remember the 2 most important actions or behaviors that you took as a leader in that specific situation? What did you do that made a difference during that time? I don't know, are there any soccer fans in the area here? Yes? All right, there we go. Well, I must tell you, I don't know many sports, and I'm not very athletic, but I love to cheer for soccer. And I'm from Croatia. I'm going to tell you about Luka Modrić. Luka Modrić is the captain of the Croatian national team. He's also a child that grew up in the war. And he also has something that's called self-efficacy, ability to believe that he's able to accomplish a goal. And with that vision for himself, he was able to do that for the team. A country, about 4.5 million people worked so hard. This team from representing this country worked so hard, and they won a competition called World Cup. I don't know if you know about that. Second in the world. A little bit bragging, right? But seriously, it's called mastery experience, right? Mastery experience. Another story, American story. McFarland, USA. Anybody watched a movie before? Okay, I do live in California, so I have to bring in a little bit of Hollywood there. McFarland, USA, it's actually my husband's whole side of the family, they're runners. And the movie was actually made about them. I looked it up, and it grossed $45 million. The family got $1,000 each. Anyway, so it's not about the money. The story is what's important. The story is about runners in McFarland, USA. If you drive through California and you drive through McFarland, I don't really know if you would actually notice that you're driving through McFarland, USA. It's a small, tiny community with prison on one side and dairy on the other side. But these people had a coach. The coach at the high school, Jim White, was so amazing because he inspired these farm-working kids of farm-working families to run cross-country. And guess what? Not one, not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 state championships. That is called mastery of experiences. That is number one. Number 2, modeling. I guess if you can't do it, then you model it, right? You either model it or you watch somebody else do it. That makes sense, right? You master it, next one is modeling. Okay, well, if she did it, maybe I can do it too, right? Copy the people that you see. Okay, you can't just copy anybody, right? You shouldn't copy everybody. But the people should be maybe look like you, think like you, maybe. They should be similar to yourself. One of my favorite stories about modeling comes actually from my own father. My dad didn't have his own father. He passed away during the war, Second World War. And I remember my dad telling me a story. He was working as a young man, young man, carrying these huge bags, unloading them from a truck. And a man from his village was in town at that time, from the village, but he actually came into that location. He was wearing a suit and a tie. And the man stopped, saw my dad, who was a young boy at that time, struggling with this huge bag that he was trying to unload. And the man in the suit and the tie helped my dad unload this bag. I can tell you this. What I remember about my dad is that every single day of his life, he wore a suit and a tie. It made such an impact on him. And my dad wanted to succeed because he saw a man that he thought he could grow up to be. That is a powerful experience. Modeling is powerful. So if you can't master it, maybe you can find somebody that you can look up to. Did I tell you that ties were invented in Croatia? I just have to say that. Okay. Encouragement is the third one. Mastery, modeling, encouragement. We know about that. If we're on a sports team, we know what that's like. Somebody's yelling, yes, you can do this, right? If you've seen me cheer for my children, you would know that I'm kind of way over the top there. When somebody encourages you and says you can do it, that somebody that that you actually respect. It cannot be just anybody. So the source of that persuasion has to be credible. When I was trying to explain to my kids what I was talking about, and I came to this place, my daughter said, "Oh, Mama, it's like that book that you read to us." I had no idea which one she was talking about. But she said, "It's that little engine that could," she said, "I think I can. And I thought I could, right? As the little engine does its work and helps others. Give good feedback. Simple as that. Question for you: what kind of messages do you think your followers are receiving that might influence their efficacy? In the Eastern Zulu tribe, I'm going to Africa now, there's a word they use for greeting, and it's called sabubona. Sabubona. It means literally, "I see you. I see you." In fact, in one of the translations, it actually says, "We see you." And the response is, "We see you also." Can you imagine how powerful it is to be a leader that actually sees other people? Can you imagine living your life where you're actually seen? How much more would you do for that leader? Question for you: do you see others? Encouragement. It's important. It's important. I really don't think that individuals that are not seen can truly be appreciated. That appreciation can maybe spark a fan of hope. You know, as believers, we look forward to someday hearing Jesus express appreciation and hearing, "Well done, to good and faithful servants." Encouraging others by appreciating what they are required to do is an effective means of giving hope. Some of you, students, have to do your papers. It might be nicer to say, "You get to do your papers." And maybe to encourage even during those small progress and efforts. Number 4, you ready? Right thinking. Right thinking. Okay, that's my translation. I like to translate things because the real title was too stressful for me. It was emotional and physiological states, and I just said it means to reframe the negative experiences and make them positive, right? I love the verse in the Bible, 2 Corinthians 10:5, and it says to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. What does that look like? Where we take every single concept, every single thought, every opinion, and make sure that it's not against the gospel. Can you imagine to actually live that way? Do you know the only way to replace error is with actual truth? And the truth is the Word of God. It has power. So with right thinking, you can activate memories of success. You can remember all the way God's power accomplishes what we can't do in our own strength. Sometimes I feel like I cannot be here in front of you. It's too much to bear, right? It's kind of stressful. I had to fly over here to prepare, right? But that power maybe comes where I'm able to translate, instead of feeling like really stressed, to say, no, this is kind of exciting. I have an opportunity to speak into the lives of young people, to acknowledge the work of such an important work that board members do. I know that. I sat on a board of trustees for our university for 6 years. Thank you for your work, right? So important. Translate, reframe, so you maybe instead of feeling nervous that you're speaking, maybe you can say, maybe I'm on a Disneyland ride. Okay, I'm pushing it there, okay. The last one, number 5, artifact. What is an artifact? Artifact is some kind of symbol, something important, something that maybe has some specific value. Imagine something, something truly that has value you could talk about. And as you talk about this particular item, it would have some kind of symbol associated with it, and your values would be brought out through it. You know, in all of the research that I did on hope, optimism, collective efficacy, all the research, this value and this way of increasing efficacy did not exist in any of the research until I looked at the biblical aspect of collective efficacy. You know, in Joshua 3 and 4, there's a story about Israelite people. And they come to the Jordan River. They've been wandering in the desert for such a long time. They come to the Jordan River, and Joshua is selected to be the next leader after Moses. And they come here, and the Jordan River is in full force flood. I mean, flooded river. Amazing, scary. And they have to cross into the promised land. And God performs an amazing miracle. He stops the Jordan River, and they cross on dry land. And God instructs Joshua to get 12 people from each of the tribes to come and gather these huge stones. They are called stones of remembrance. They're to set them on the side of the Jordan River as a reminder to them and to the future generations about what God has done. That is an artifact. That is important. Do you have an artifact? Can you imagine something that's in your life through maybe a challenging process that reminds you that you succeeded? Maybe it's your diploma. Those of you who got your BAs and working on a master's degree, maybe it's your BA that's standing on the wall saying, look what I've done. It's an artifact of some sort. Maybe it's a medal that you received from a sport competition. Those are all artifacts. Those are the 5 things. So we're gonna practice. You guys ready? Yeah. Yes, everybody's still awake. You know I have the power to keep you here for a long time. All right. So I want you to take your papers and pens out. Ready? Can never fall asleep in my class. Granted, this is not a class, but we still have to be active, right? Okay, so we're gonna draw. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. I know. Okay. So here are your instructions. You ready? All right. You're going to draw a tree, okay? So you get to choose. There are blue pens, there are black pens. There's brown paper on one side, and on one side is white. I will not stress you out. You can choose. It is a tree, so if you want it to be more natural looking, you can do the brown side, I guess. Okay, so here's the tree. Okay, so it's not just the tree that looks like a bush. It needs to have all the parts of the tree. So you're gonna start from the bottom, okay? You guys ready? I'm gonna come and see if you're ready, okay? Logan, it's okay if I move from the stage? I'm coming, okay. So I want a big tree, right? I want roots. I want a trunk. I would like some branches. I would like some possible fruit, okay? Let's see. Okay, big tree throughout the whole paper. So trees, we have different kinds of trees. I'm going to tell you about fruit trees. You guys know about fruit trees? I live in Central Valley in California. We have lots of fruit trees. They have to be pruned. And the way you know what kind of fruit tree it is by the fruit it bears. Some of us might be that kind of tree that bears fruit. tell you about another tree that is also close to my home in California, and I live close to giant sequoias. They are the largest trees in the world. Some of them live to be 2,000 to 3,000 years old. Those trees actually do well even with the fire. Do you guys know that giant sequoias have the tiniest little seeds? And they do not open up until the fire actually prepares the soil and dries up the seeds for them to sprout. Okay, the third kind of tree I'm going to tell you is when I was traveling in Europe, in Bosnia, I saw this tree that was planted by the streams of water. Some of you might recognize that it's probably from Psalms. Psalm 1 says, like a tree planted by the streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither, whatever he does prospers. What kind of tree are you? All right. You ready for this? You're going to have to write, not just draw. You ready for this? I'm going to give you instructions. You knew that there was more than just drawing, right? A little bit more than just drawing. You guys want to see? Okay, we have to take a pause. Dr. Hunt, we have to take a pause. Show each other your trees so you can stop giggling. Just show each other your trees. Let's see it. Let's see it. Show your trees. Let's see it. Let's see it. Very. I love it. Okay. Some of you are pretty. All right. That is so funny. I like the soccer team enthusiasm. Super fun. Okay, well, why did I have you draw a tree? I'm going to tell you why I had you draw a tree, because I want it to be representative of possibly these 5 areas. You ready? Your roots. Some trees have huge roots, right? Some of them have huge roots. What are your roots? What are your roots? What are your core values? Could you write on your paper where your roots are? I want you to write. What are your beliefs? What are your core values? Maybe there are people in your life. Maybe it's God. Maybe it's Scripture. What is the roots? What is giving you strength? The trunk. What is the trunk? What shows up with you? Who are you? Okay, well, I'm a woman. I'm from Croatia. I'm a professor, right? Who are you? What do people see when they see you? On the branches and the fruit, I want you to write, what do you really want to accomplish? I want you to challenge today some of the students to ponder your purpose, right? What is your purpose? Is it to glorify God? Is it to get a degree? Is it to help people in leadership? What is it? On the right side, I want you to write all of the things that would encourage you to grow. What are those things? Are they specific people? Are they mentors? Are there maybe people who speak truth into your life? And on the left side, I want you to write about shadows in your life. Are there any threats? Anything negative that might be preventing you from accomplishing and succeeding? Let's take a moment to finish that. I have one more part on the tree that we did not address. And that's that inner core. You know those sequoia trees I told you about? There's a lot of fire in California right now where I live. And the trees can withstand tremendous amount of fire as long as their core is not attacked. Sometimes, even if the core is damaged, but the roots remain intact, the tree can live. What is inside of you that is giving you strength? What is it, the inner core of who you are? It's not something that you can see, right? It's not in the trunk, it's not in the branches. You really have to dig deep to find it. I want you to think about your role in life right now. Some of your students, some of you are professors, some of you are administrators, some of you are board members. What is your role? And I want you to think about at least one other person. We're going to switch from ourselves to somebody else. So I want you to think about somebody that you have influence on. Got it? You have that person or a team in mind? Yes? Yes. Okay. So now, let's see, it's practice time. Do you actually know how to apply these things? Right? It's like a little test. Okay. Mastery experience. Can you think about this person or the team? Can you think about how you can actually encourage them? Mastery experience. Can you set goals for them? Provide an opportunity for them, kind of like a roadmap. Can you create a roadmap for them? How about modeling? So number one, think about the other person, and you literally can draw on the back and think about that one person or one team, and think about those things. What could you do differently? Doesn't matter that you spent an hour and a half with me here tonight. What could you do differently? Okay? Master experience. What could you do for that person? Modeling. Be an example. How could you be an example for this person or the team? If maybe you're not the best example, could you find people that could be a model for that team or person? For encouragement, what could you do? How could you say something of encouragement to them? How could you truly see them? Who are you going to recognize? It's one of our hugest needs, and yet so many times we don't give encouragement and we don't receive encouragement. How about right thinking? How are you going to reframe? How are you going to help others manage stress? And then the artifact. What symbols can your team choose to remind them of their values? As a leader, how can you keep hope alive? I truly believe that it starts by keeping hope alive in your soul. What if you were like Queen Esther, born for such a time as this? Well, we don't have enough time this evening to hear each one of your stories, which I would love to if I had an opportunity. Stories are an important part of how we share our experiences with others. So I'm going to challenge you with the last task while you still have your pens in your hand, your last homework for the evening. I want you to think about how could you plan to increase leadership efficacy in yourself, in somebody that is your follower, in your team, in your organization, maybe even at the university. I want you to do it by using a 6-word memoir. It was developed by Larry Smith and literally uses only 6 words. That's the limit, no more, and it doesn't have to be good English. I know, cannot believe that as a professor saying that. It does not have to have all the prepositions and correct. Okay, try to spell it correctly. I guess I should say that. 6 words. So this is what I want you to do. Just 6 words. You have to think about it. What is your story? What do you believe? What are you going to do, and how are you going to lead? What would mine be? Could you write one for me? I bet you could after you listen to me tonight. Maybe it would sound something like, survived war, believes God, teaches leaders. What is yours? Take a moment. I want you to write 6 words that define who you are and what you want to accomplish. You have it? Are they good? I want you to turn to the neighbor next to you and share it with them. You girls have them? You have some? You have it? Not yet? Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Now you have a tree. You're empowered with 5 different ways that you can help somebody else with self-efficacy, collective efficacy, or giving each other hope and optimism that is so needed. I want to just encourage you by something that encouraged me as I was thinking and preparing as to what I would share with you. I thought about Ephesians 3, and it says, "And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the saints, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ." What encouragement that we have, that inside of us, those of us who believe God, can have power to believe, to make a difference in our life, in the lives of those that are around us, even in our organizations, even in our nation and our world. My challenge for you is to think about your own tree, your own ability to change and make a difference in lives of those that you get to see every day? Would you challenge your own heart to truly see them? I want you to remember that God sees you and He wants you to succeed. He wants you to believe that you're able to accomplish all that He has called you to. What a joy it is to be in your midst and cheer you on. Thank you so much. Do you want me to see if we have questions? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. I believe we have a few moments to ask any questions that you might have. Oh, here's a brave person. Can I walk to her? Okay, I will walk over and we'll find out what the question is. Okay. Tell me your name. Can I walk by? Sorry. Oops, sorry. There's ice here. Wow. Somebody's injured. Hi. Tell me. What's your name?
Kayla.
Kayla. Hi, Kayla.
I know you said earlier, but I kind of forgot. So where are you from?
So, I'm in California.
Yeah, like where do you live?
I live in Visalia, California. So, if I could orient you, if you can think of two beautiful national parks, I live in the valley. So we have Yosemite National Park, and then we also have Sequoia National Park, where these huge giant trees live.
Sounds beautiful.
Sounds beautiful, except it's a little on fire right now. But. Other questions? Yes, you're gonna make me exercise tonight. All right, we need a portable mic, huh? All right, here we go. Tell me your question, your name, and okay, you're a leadership student, you can stand up. Come on. Tell us your name. I'll repeat the question.
Why are you singing? Why are you singing?
Lauren? Thank you so much. So the question is whether or not my family still lives in Croatia, and I would love to say that my parents are still living, but my parents are no longer on this earth. But I have two sisters, and their whole families live in Croatia, and so I love to travel to Croatia and try to kind of bridge the gap between my two worlds. I also have a family that is now my own. I have 3 daughters and a husband, and I adopt people into my life, kind of like Dr. Hunt. If I need a grandma or an uncle, I just kind of adopt people. So my family is pretty large, but it's probably family of the heart. Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Others, while I'm here, don't make me walk over there and come back. Questions? Oh, there's one, 2. Perfect. All right. Tell me your name.
My name's Chase.
Chase. Hi, Chase.
I was wondering if your sister ever became a doctor or in the medical field.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So the question is whether or not my sister ever became a doctor in the medical field. She actually decided to do chemistry, and so she's engineer of chemistry and helping laboratories with their equipment. It's really highly technical. I study leadership, so but she helps in a different way in the medical field. So thank you, but not a doctor, engineer of chemistry. Yes. Other question? Yes. Tell me your name.
Sadie.
Sadie. Hi.
Yes, so I know you mentioned you study leadership. I was just wondering what brought you to that in college and what made you then choose to do this profession from there as well.
Okay, wonderful question. So kind of why leadership, right? Why leadership and what do I do now and how do I practice it? So I think I shared a little bit about why, to me, it was important to study it. And when I saw efficacy of my own people, when I saw that changes can be made, I thought, what an incredible opportunity. When I was a freshman in college, some of you are here freshmen, I got onto the campus and I realized that you could become a leader and apply for all of these positions. So guess what I did? I applied for all of them. I was a mentor assistant, I was a resident assistant. Do you have those? Yes, right? And then I was student body president, and it gave me so many opportunities to just study and serve. Not just study about leadership, but serve as well. And as a result, I kind of explored different areas of studies. My undergrad is in business because I thought, I didn't know where I was going to end up. I didn't know I was going to stay in America, right? So I figured business, that should translate wherever God's sending me next, right? And then I ended up with specifically looking at leadership because I really loved having an impact on our future generations. Thank you for that question, Sadie. Other questions? Yes?
I was wondering,
Tell me your name.
Amanda.
Amanda?
I was wondering where your faith kind of like stemmed from, and if it was really hard to maintain that during the difficult times in your life, or if it was something that, lifted you up.
Thank you so much. So the question is about faith. Where does the faith come from, and whether or not that's something that I've always had? Did it grow? How did it grow? And I have to say, people ask me often, like, how do you still believe? Like, after all these things, I shared some stuff with students during lunch. It's only for students' ears. But seriously, like, so much suffering, like, still believe? Like, that's kind of weird. I really, truly believe that the only reason why I still am alive is that I have faith. I have faith that what I am living through is just temporary. There's so much more joy, so much more that is coming because I have the faith. And I can share with others true reason for that hope and the faith that I have that we're loved. There's opportunities for us to have eternal life. All we have to do is believe. How incredible is that? Somebody just gives you a free gift and you're like, I don't know about that today. No, it's awesome. I love free gifts, and I would love to share that with others. And all we have to say is, sorry, I want to live a different life. So to me, it's kind of that synergy. It's just total opportunity to have it all with very little cost. There's truly, I believe, power that the Lord gives us when we are rooted and established in love. And I really believe that that is one of the reasons why I'm here today. My very first, we have 2 more minutes. My very first speaking engagement. You guys, you ready for this? Imagine this. I just came from war-torn Croatia, was a refugee. I come across a Rotary Club in this city, wants me to speak. English? Okay, you know that I already have an accent. Imagine it 28 years ago. I mean, terrified. I'm gonna speak in front of all of these people. In that moment, I made a decision. After I prayed, I decided, I want to share my story. And every single time that I do, I don't want it to just be a story. I want it to hurt just the same way that it hurt before, because it could change a life. It could create another opportunity for somebody to truly see another person, to truly make a difference, to possibly even increase their own faith. And I think only because of that, I'm standing here in front of you today. Every single time somebody says, can you address our audience? Definitely, I would love to do that. And then comes the faith. So thank you for asking. Last question. Yes, Gretchen. I remember Gretchen. Yes, Gretchen.
As a person who has spent my life in nonprofits and in service and the joy that it can bring, what do you tell younger people to encourage them when they don't necessarily know the joy that giving and service brings to their life, no matter how busy they are, to always carve out a little how do you inspire them at this age?
Right. Love it. So Gretchen is asking, how do we, other leaders who love the nonprofit sector, who volunteer, who are maybe serving on the board of trustees, giving generously of their time, energy, effort, money to invest in the lives of others, how do we inspire others to do that, or maybe even just share the story? And I think that's part of the journey, right? Sometimes I see leadership kind of like a hand drawing up. Maybe it's to God, maybe it's to another leader that has gone before us, and a hand reaching down, always saying, who else is there that I can lead, that I can inspire, that I could invest in? So Gretchen, in some ways, that joy of being able to serve comes from that. Thank you so much for asking. I believe that that is it for this evening. Again, thank you so much for giving me an honor to be a leader.
Thank you everyone for coming. Again, freshmen, please make sure that you scan out. It's okay. And leadership students, make sure you get the QR code to sign in for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Let me see your tree. Give it up.
It's not very good.
What's the hole? I want to